everyone. I'm Carol Carnes, and this is Living Consciously. Thanks for joining us today. Well, this is a big week. You know, Earth Day is coming up. I always think we should celebrate Earth every day of our lives, but at least we have one day to focus on the condition of this beautiful planet. Really, it is kind of the Garden of Eden. It's so exquisitely beautiful. And it is only human beings who've created ugliness on the planet. Well, sure, we create things of beauty too, but the difference is we have a choice. We can choose to create beauty, or we can choose to just create ugliness and devastate the land. And there has been a lot of that going on, which comes from non-creative thinking, non-critical thinking, and some old religious beliefs that are really still active and causing us problems. And most of these beliefs are kind of subterranean. A lot of folks don't even know they still carry around this stuff. But it is a misunderstanding of what it means to have dominion over the earth. It doesn't mean you can conquer her and do whatever you want to her, violate her. It means you have responsibility for her. And that's really what we're facing right now, is the need to shift and change some old attitudes. And really, it's just ignorance of what it is to be in nature. You know, you and I are not something apart from nature. We're not standing observing it. We're of it. The same way a flower is, or a tree is, or a lion, or a cobra, or a cockroach. We are one of nature's inhabitants and one of nature's creations. So nature has no choice. She can only create beauty. And you know, there is great beauty even in the volcano erupting in Kilauea on the big island of Hawaii, creating new land. It's horrendous, but it's beautiful. And so we want to shift our perception of what our relationship is to life, which is nature. And if we did, we could make some real progress in keeping this planet the pristine, beautiful place it was meant to be. So the ignorance is that we wrongly saw nature as an enemy to be conquered. And so we either want to override her laws and do it our way, or we want to destroy her. Or the destruction is the effect. You know what's interesting about this? That the destructive effects affect the perpetrators of the ugliness as well as everybody else. So it's not in anybody's best interest to destroy this beautiful planet. You know, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is dangerous. And the ignorance of the laws that we must obey in nature are causing us a lot of problems on this planet. So violence against nature affects us every day of our life, and we're really beginning to feel it. Now, many scientists say it's not too late, that we could still put things to right. But we have to change the way we see ourselves and to change the way we see nature. Now, this is a spiritual problem. That's why I'm talking about it. I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an ecologist or an environmentalist. But I do know this is a spiritual problem because it comes from a misunderstanding of spiritual laws. It comes from a misunderstanding of old scripture. And there are spiritual solutions to it. So when we understand our unity with all life, we change our perception. I had the privilege of being in the presence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. In 1999, we were all in India together, some members of a group called the Association for Global New Thought, with some other people that we invited. And of course, it was the dawn of the new century, so everybody was very interested in the state of humanity and where we were in our evolution. And so someone asked him, they said, Your Holiness, what is the most important thing for human beings to know right now? And he said, the fact of our oneness, the truth of our interdependence. He said, if people really understood how interactive and interdependent this beautiful system of life is, they would behave very differently towards each other and towards the planet. So if our religious, I'm going to just go out on a limb and say it, if your religion gives you permission to harm any living thing, you need a new religion. and it's coming from just some old beliefs. So here's a point I want to really stress today. Religion is not sacred. Beliefs are not sacred. The only thing sacred is life. And life is, if you want to put it in religious language, God in action. Nature is the expression of the divine, the expression of something ineffable in this universe that makes everything out of itself by becoming the thing it makes. And so it knows how to create order and interconnection and unity and beauty. And we mess with it because we have choice. Now, this is true in our own lives as well. Our old beliefs, sometimes we don't even know we still believe them. They're habituated. You know, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you believe the same thing about money that your parents did, perhaps? Do you believe the same thing about money that you did 10 years ago? Now, if you're in your middle-age years, I'm sure you've changed some ideas over the years about things. And consequently, what has happened? Your experience changed, yes? So old beliefs are not sacrosanct. You know, this comes from the age of the Inquisition. This comes from the age of when religion was used to dominate people, oppress them, and dominate the planet. The superstitious idea that you can never question it, you can never speak against it. It's ridiculous. It's just a set of beliefs. So what we want to look at is to examine our beliefs about our relationship to life. Are we of it, or are we outside of it, dealing with it? You know, we were talking in class the other night about how human beings are equipped to be creative. We're not here to handle life, and we're not here to cope with life or take whatever comes our way and either dance with it or reject it. No, we're here to create. We're here to make things better. It's in us. There is this push in us. We call it a press to express. It's an evolutionary principle. It's in everybody, just as it's in every animal and every plant, to push to drive the species forward and to become ever more expressive of what our true nature is. It's a choice. But the choices we have are based on the beliefs we hold to be sacred or not. So here's my suggestion today. It's like, give yourself a break and just say to yourself, you know what? I can change my mind about everything if I want to, because you can. That's where our freedom lies, within our very own mind. And that is something that nobody can take away from you unless you give it to them. Your ability to choose what you believe. So don't be overly loyal to something that doesn't make sense anymore. You know, people hang on to things for the strangest reasons. I've had people tell me, well, no, I don't believe a word I hear in church, but I like the music. I mean, for heaven's sakes, why would you waste your Sunday morning going somewhere where you have to tune out the message? No, that's ridiculous. So what we want to do is fill our mind with things that elevate us, inspire us, get us moving in a new direction. And it all starts with beliefs. We must examine our own beliefs. I think it was Socrates who said, an unexamined life is not worth living. Well, an unexamined mind is dangerous. So how do you know what you believe? Well, just listen to yourself talk all day long. Listen to what you talk about with your friends, with your coworkers. Listen to what goes on in your mind when you're just by yourself. It's a whole thing, right? Lots of conversations going on. The friend of mine used to say, there's a committee in my head. The board of directors. Or there's the parental figure in your head. You're going to get in trouble. That kind of silliness. But just listen to what you're saying to yourself and what you're saying to other people. Then watch your behaviors. You see, what you decide to do any moment of the day is a choice based on something you believe. Something you believe about yourself, something you believe about life, something you believe about other people. It is your perception that is causing you to behave the way you do. And this is changeable if we are willing to examine our thoughts, that's all. It's not arduous, it's not a hard thing to do. And as a matter of fact, it's kind of fun. And sometimes I have thoughts in my head that just make me laugh out loud. They're so ridiculous. But if I didn't pay attention to them, they would go off and running and get my feet moving or my mouth moving in a way I don't want it to, right? So, I think it was Isaiah in the Christian Bible. I don't know much about the Bible, but I remember hearing this about I do the things I would not do or something like that. And if any of you know what that is, email me and let me know. It's like, why do I do what I don't want to do? Because I'm not paying attention to what I believe. I'm not paying attention to my mind. And you can change it. So what happens in nature if things aren't changing and moving? See, the nature of life is motion, right? It's either dead matter or moving matter. The nature of life is motion. And if things stop moving, they stagnate. You ever been next to a stagnant pond? It stinks. And the life within it gets choked out. It's like that last Easter egg that you hid and you find in your house 3 months later that smells. So, like, what is that? There's always one left over. Stagnation precedes death. Stagnation precedes death. Consciousness precedes life. Consciousness precedes form. Consciousness must be kept moving. Now, in the second half of today's program, I'm going to pick up prosperity that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to pick up because we're talking about movement and circulation, and that has everything to do with our prosperity. So what I want us to see today, though, is that in our personal life, we have a lot to say about our shared reality. It is very easy for any individual to just kind of throw up their hands in resignation and say, they won't let me, they are doing this. But you'll notice lately that things have been coming to the forefront of our consciousness that we never talked about before, and that we're getting more active as a group. More people are doing peaceful protests, nonviolent actions, writing letters, signing petitions, and we're coming into our own as a group or as a unified field of conscious people who want to make conscious changes to the betterment of everybody. There's nothing wrong with that. The world will be a much better place if there was more equality and a better distribution of our resources, all the things that make life so much more worth living. All right, so in the next section, when we come back from our break, and we're going to take a break in just a minute, I'm going to talk more about your personal experience of circulation and prosperity, because it's a very important part of spirituality. Not about amassing money, it's about flow and ease and abundance and a sense of being in nature's way of moving and expanding and replicating herself, okay? It's a big subject, and you're worth it. So come back, let's take a little break and let our wonderful sponsors share some wonderful ideas just for you. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Attention homeowners, apartment complexes and business parks and homeowners associations. Now is the best time to make your property beautiful again. Since 1967, Gonzalez Landscaping has offered beautiful professional landscaping services to all of southern New Mexico. Our team has been designing and installing landscapes for over 47 years. Where quality is an obsession, Gonzalez Landscaping is locally owned and operated. We are licensed commercial, residential specialists dedicated to providing reliable and quality service. We offer residential and commercial landscaping design, full lawn, tree and shrub care, with annuals and perennials, tree and palm trimming, spring and fall cleanups, mulching and more. Let us do the work at prices you can afford. We service all of Las Cruces. We are New Mexico's premier commercial landscaping and residential landscaping company. Visit us online at gonzalesnursery.com or call us for a free estimate. 575-382-7272.
Welcome to La Buena Vida Women's Club, located away from the crowds but close to home. Come in throughout the day for Jazzercise, the world's dance fitness leader for nearly 40 years. Treat yourself to a relaxing massage, or unwind in the lounge area or outside on the balcony with friends. La Buena Vida Women's Club, located and designed with women in mind. For information, call Diane at 650-9721.
All right, we're back. I have some great ideas to share with you. While I was on break, I was thumbing through my own little book, The Way In, which is a series of kind of daily readings. They're all self-contained. Okay, so I want to just kind of share one with you to lead us into our little bit of talk about prosperity and your place in it. Okay? When I was in kindergarten, my classmates and I created a garden together. I bet you did too. Each child was given a packet of seeds to plant and water and tend to and watch grow. When our carrots, onions, and cucumbers began to emerge from the soil, we were struck with delight and wonder. I remember being 4 years old in kindergarten thinking, wow, look how that thing grew right out of the ground. And then we could eat the carrots. Planting seeds is one of the most satisfying ways to interact with nature, with the intelligence of nature. We do our part and she does hers. Now, there's a lot more in that article, and you can buy this book. I'll tell you later how to get it. But nature's part is providing the principles that you and I use when we think and when we make choices. And when we decide to interact with nature and obey her principles, we tend to prosper. So, first of all, obviously, you've got to select the seeds. What is it you want to see grow in your life? You know, if you're interested in a loving, committed, beautiful relationship, you can't plant the seeds of resentment about your former partner. You can't plant the seeds of resentment about all men are or all women are or they never or it never worked. Those things will not bring you what you want. So you plant the seeds of self-love, self-respect, knowing that you attract to you what belongs with you, that it cannot be kept from you, and you begin to affirm and know this is true, and pretty soon someone wonderful is going to show up in your life. Then it's your choice if you want to enter into that relationship. So that's the way of prosperity as well. If we plant the seeds, they will grow. What are the seeds of prosperity? It is take what you have now, and right now we're talking about finances, but it could be your time, your talent, and in this case we're talking about the treasure as well, which is money, and you circulate it. You put it in the subjective soil that we all share. You know, we're all arising out of the same place, whether we know it or not. We share this field, it's a vibrational field, and you call it subjective soil. You plant your seeds in the soil with circulation. We began to talk about that in the last segment about how if things don't move, they stink and they die. Well, your bank account can dry up pretty quickly if you're not animating it with movement. Now, that doesn't mean you just take the whole thing and throw it out. It means you are consciously interacting with supply the way nature does, because you're a natural being. You're a natural man and I'm a natural woman and we're all natural people. Or maybe you're a natural woman as well. So we need to interact with supply. People don't get it, that that's what we're doing with money. We think money comes to us, we spend it, and then we try to get more. No, it's just a symbol. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. It's a symbol of supply. Supply is invisible, and it comes through and supplies ideas, consciousness. This is something, it's a deep study, but it's not hard to learn. I really would love to have you come and learn with me as we do on Sunday morning at the Mesilla Town Community Center. We'll talk more about that later. All right, so circulation is key. Ernest Holmes was the man who wrote a book called The Science of Mind in 1939, and it became the foundational text, if you will, for a whole lot of other books, but for a course of study about how to use your mind to improve the quality of your life, because you're interacting with these principles whether you know it or not. Now, Ernest Holmes, this was back, he was in the 40s and 50s in California coming up, very well-known human being. But at that time, there was a book called Think and Grow Rich, which is still in print, by Napoleon Hill. It's a good book. But Ernest said, I shudder every time I read that title because it's so misleading. And it encourages people to think all you need to do is think money and you're going to get wealthy. He says, no, he says, there's some truth in it, but there's far more required of us. And it has to do with our definition of rich. Now, so for some of us, I'm going to include myself, it doesn't necessarily mean having a big stock portfolio. It doesn't mean necessarily having a huge savings account. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, it means having what I need the moment I need it. And trusting that I will. That's a prosperous mind. That's an abundantly enriched mind, one that knows and trusts this invisible power, this invisible principle that is personal to me, that I activate, it's always active, but I activate it for me by what I'm doing inside my mind, what I'm doing with my perception. So I want to understand, I have a relationship with it. And, a couple weeks ago I mentioned the prodigal son. That's a Christian story, but it's probably the best one in the whole book. And it is about this young man who had a wealthy father. He had a brother and he had a wealthy father. And he said to his father, I want my inheritance now. I don't want to wait. Father said, okay, no questions asked. Gave it to the boy. The boy went out. He was a young Jewish boy. He spent all his money on frivolity and throwing it around and recklessly, not interacting with the principal, just getting rid of it. And then he wound up feeding pigs, which was a terrible fate for a young Jewish boy. And he decided he needed to go home. See, going home is a metaphor for turning within to the place where the source resides and beginning to speak from it or with it. And anyway, in the story, the boy turned walking home and he looked up and there was his father, the source of his supply, coming to greet him. No judgment, no saying, where have you been, kid? Did you spend all your money? I told you. No, he said, come, I'm happy to see you. I'm going to throw you a party. Wonderful story. It's how the universe responds to us. No judgment. It's neutral. It's a principle. The presence is real, but you feel it is in your own aliveness. I probably said that a million times, but you can't say it enough. God is an inner presence of our aliveness and our intelligence and our love and vitality and peace and creativity and supply. It's within us. It's in the seed that becomes the acorn seed that becomes the oak tree. It's in the daffodil bulb that becomes the yellow flower that waves at you on Easter morning and says, hi, I'm yellow, how are you? It becomes everything. But what it becomes is inside of the thing. And that's how life happens. So prosperity comes from within us. We must change our perception of circulation. Here's what I know. You can never outgive the universe. If you knew me well, the people who describe me, they'll say all sorts of things about me. Believe me, some of them I don't like so well. But they always say I'm generous, because I am. I love gift giving. I love generating income, and I love spending it on my friends and all kinds of stuff. I'm a generous human being. So it's part of my well-being to be generous, and it's a part of yours. You cannot outgive God. The more generous you are with your time, your talent, your treasure, the more of it you will have to give. It's if the universe says, well, it doesn't, but it's as if it says, well, she needs more of that. She keeps spending it. She keeps giving it. She keeps circulating it. She needs more of that. She needs more talent, more time, more treasure. Any one of those things are a gift to life. So don't stint. Give back. Circulate and prosper. So today, let's up the ante a little bit. Let's rethink what rich, means to us and affirm that it is so now. Say this out loud. My every need is met in perfect timing, in right order, to the highest benefit of everyone involved. And you will see an increase in your supply. All right, so it is always wonderful to be with you. I hope you'll join us again and tell your friends about this. You can see us on YouTube. Just search for Living Consciously, and you'll find previous shows. You'll find the current ones. I think there's 5 up now already. People even in Canada and other places are watching them. And so you tell your friends about YouTube, because this is a great place for you to access what we are speaking about here. You can support us by buying my book. There it is, The Way In. And you can buy it directly from the publisher, Lulu. I love that name, lulu.com. Or you can get the e-version too. Or you can get it on, I think you can still get it on Amazon. It's not an expensive book, but it's kind of a little treasure. I love that little book. Okay, and the other thing you can do is come and see me on Sunday morning. We have what we call the Sunday Experience, a stripped down Sunday morning, no nonsense, make sense kind of gathering at the Town of Mesilla Community Center. And you can make a donation via, here I go again with the Al Roker thing, this website. We do rely, I know that my members are supporting us financially out of their heart, out of their love for this teaching. And I also know they aren't the source, but they're one avenue. You could be an avenue of support for us as well. Keep us on television. All right, so what else do I want to tell you about? Living Consciously, our website, and you can get on my website too, www.carolcarnes.com. And I post things occasionally. Usually I have a daily blog that I put up that you could access as well. But this book is full of daily blogs from the early 2000s. And so someone collected them and they said, let's make this into a book. So every day I write one. And every day I put it on Facebook. You can be my friend on Facebook. Every day we put it up on the Mesilla Valley website, Mesilla Valley Center for Spiritual Living website. So there's plenty of things for you to access, and all of them are empowering. None of them is asking you to do anything but be more of who you are. That's what the world needs. You're a gift. Be it. All right. Lovely to be with you. Please come back again soon. I'll be here. Namaste.